So I decided the episode of Super Y I was going to be watching by Judgment Bay, because there were two I was torn on. I was going to watch Beauty and the Beast because of Wyatt getting that divorce and having a little bit of a romance theme to this episode. But I went back to the wiki to look through descriptions, and I saw an episode I never even covered on Weirdest Super Y episodes. That's hopefully because the description sounded very normal. This episode is Peter Rabbit. And that's the episode I'm going to be watching because Judgment Bay, all of my Islanders agreed that it was much better than Beauty and the Beast. I haven't actually seen the episode yet, and I'm not actually going to see it until, after 3 p.m. So why am I making this video? Well, I've come upon a realization that coming up with the lore for this episode will end up being coming up with the lore for this episode will end up getting kind of goofy. 'Cause Peter Rabbit as a fairy tale is quite famous. Peter Rabbit has a ton of readaptations. There is a lot, but I really only know of, counting this episode's version of him, 3. And those 3 are the version from this episode, the live-action movie that came out, that actually managed to get itself a sequel. I also know of a not very well-known version of Peter Rabbit. Did any of you know that there was actually a Nickelodeon show based off it? There it is, the Nickelodeon Peter Rabbit. Something random. I heard that originally Super Y was going to be on Nick Jr., so when they made the Peter Rabbit episode, they could have had a crossover between that show and this Peter Rabbit show. But that didn't happen, and if it did happen, I wouldn't be watching Super Y because it would actually be worse. Don't ask, there are videos all about the Super Y pilot all over the place on the internet. Anyway, I'd have to answer the question, is this the same Peter Rabbit? I don't really know what to say. Usually I just ignore distant cousin. I just ignore characters that are from 2 different origins but are, in a way, the same character. But today I'm gonna come up with an answer. So there are a ton of Little Red Riding Hoods in this world. On TV, at least. But I'm just going to use 2 as an example. Red from Super Y, and Red from Hoodwinked. Yes, I watched those movies. I consider all of the Reds to kind of be descendants of each other. I'm gonna say, I say that Red from Hoodwinked died long before Super Y started. And that Red was just her great-great-granddaughter, I guess? Well, Red from Super Y, at least. Okay, all the Little Red Riding Hoods are descendants of each other. Same with other characters who have the same fairy tale name, like Little Bo Peep. I count video games as canon, so does that mean that somewhere in the Descendants that this became this? The only explanation is that in Toon World, genetics can get weird. Well, unless those 2 Bo Peeps in particular are just a coincidence, and it has nothing to do with genetics there. Oh yeah, coincidences can happen too. Yeah, so you know what? These two Bo Peeps exist in the same timeline. And it's just a coincidence that both of their names just so happen to be Little Bo Peep. Maybe that Landblubber's parents just really liked the fairy tale. Oh, also, while we're on the topic of that, wanna see a cowlick floating in midair? Too bad I'm showing you. But yeah, those two Bo Peeps are a coincidence because as you need to have the exact same, nearly the exact same qualities to be genetics. And really, it'd be weird if we found out that Bo Peep's grandmother was a Landblubber in the war. But that would be kinda cool, just Bo Peep's great-great-grandmother is a war veteran. You don't get that joke? Because the mission is in Zephyr, and Zephyr and Breeze Harbor are at war. Anyway, back to Descendants things. And yeah, other coincidences can happen, like, there also just so happens to be three pigs being chased by a wolf for their houses. Anyone can be a pig after all, guys. Don't worry about Princess P. In my canon, her mom is not the princess from Princess and the Pea. In my canon, she and Princess P is an artificial a human created by her mom, so Princess Celestia, so she can have kids. Well, one kid at least. I know what you're gonna say, my lore's crazy, I don't care. But then we get to characters who are not really genetic things. To where there's so many similarities, like the place they live, that they're basically saying that it's most likely the same person. These characters, the list of these characters includes Peter Rabbit. But I'm officially going to calculate that these three versions of Peter Rabbit are all the same Peter Rabbit. I know the Nickelodeon series does have two exclusive characters. Hers that never show up in the live-action movie or the Super Y episode. But I have an answer for you. The Nickelodeon series just took place after both the live-action movies and the Super Y episode. One of the episodes in the Nickelodeon series is centered around the female bunny just moving in. So, basically my canon order for these is the Super Y episode came first, and then both the live-action movies, and then the series. I know, from the continuity of the movies, then the live-action series, then the movies should come last, I get it. Actually, no, people can retire, you know. So, like, what if the good farmer that took over at the end of the first live-action movie just retired by the time the series came on? If I'm wrong about that. Sorry, I've never actually seen the live-action movies yet. But you know what? I'm gonna put it on my bucket list to watch both of those live-action movies. I'll get them on DVD, watch them, understand everything. But yeah, the fact that the series with the two exclusive characters comes last would make it understandable that they're never brought up in the Super Y episode of the movies. So I've got that lore figured out. So tune in later today for the Super Y review of Peter Rabbit.